Early in the morning, engineer Jason is fishing at the pier. After getting nothing for days he finally catches something, but the fish is too small so he throws it back into the water. Then Jason sees a storm approaching, so he decides to go home. In the suburbs, it's already raining and all the neighbors are rushing to get home. Outside his house, Jason tries to open his garage but the door isn't working. He has no choice but to leave the car outside. Inside, Jason says hello to the elderly dog Cassidy and notices that all the mail is debt collector letters, revealing he's currently unemployed. Then he brings donuts to his wife Anne and their children immediately join them. They try to play with their tablet while they have breakfast, however the internet is down. Jason blames it on the house falling apart and Anne shows him an email from a repairman, who has looked at the pictures she sent and has concluded the house foundation is sinking. The only thing holding the building together is the chimney. After breakfast the family gets ready to get their Christmas tree. However, when they try to open the front door they can't even make it budge. Jason then tries the back door, but it won't open either. Getting desperate, the whole family starts trying to open every window and door to no avail. The parents want to request help but there's no internet or phone signal. While Cassidy refuses to stop barking, a desperate Jason throws himself at the door and still nothing happens. Then he starts hitting the windows and manages to crack them, but none of them break. When they look outside, they see their neighbors trying to get their attention with a mirror, and they realize that other families are trapped in their homes too. At that moment they see Susan running down the street. They try to get their attention but she can't hear them. When she arrives at her house, she discovers she can't get in and her husband is trapped inside, so she immediately leaves to get help. As hours pass, the family tries to keep themselves entertained. Jason uses tools on the garage door but it still won't budge. They discuss their neighbors and remember that one of them has a boat. A couple on the house write on a mirror that they're stuck after just a one-night stand. Meanwhile the Richardsons begin communicating with a whiteboard, so Jason answers by using his kid's green board. The Richardsons think the government did this for their safety, while the boat owner theorizes it was aliens. Everyone wonders if it's just their city or the whole world. That night when Jason puts Ruth to bed, she theorizes that the rain caused this because it looks different. Then Jason goes to his room and Anne admits she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Jason assures her they'll be fine and reveals he has a gun in the closet. Anne freaks out since he never told her about it but also asks him how to use it. Instead of sleeping Jason spends hours in front of the mirror trying to open the garage with the remote, but it only opens the car trunk. Then he drills holes in the front door and is shocked to see water drops moving strangely to cover them. When Anne comes to check on him, he's made holes in the wall and floor too. The result is always the same, a barrier of water is stopping him from breaking through, although air is still coming through the vents. Jason believes that the cause of this isn't man-made. He can hear some weird noises in the chimney but when he looks inside, there's nothing. The next morning it's still raining and the house continues to be sealed. The family has a discussion on how they'll proceed from now on. The kids have plenty of toys, yet the parents only have old records and 2 DVDs. Anne tells the kids to keep doing their chores and washing daily. They'll also start rationing the food so it'll last around 2 months. They'll have to be careful with the electricity, gas, and water since they may not last long. Cassidy keeps scratching the door because he wants to relieve himself, so Jason has to teach him to do it inside the house. On day 4, Jason tries to make their kids pretend they're at school, but their hearts aren't into it. Instead he decides to teach them something useful for survival, how to gut a fish. Since they don't have fish, they use dolls. The kids have lots of fun and also learn that Jason used to have his own boat, but he had to sell it when they were born. In the afternoon, Jason and the Richardsons agree to start a game of board telephone so they can find out how far this is spread. On day 7, the lights start to flicker. Anne saves all the vegetable seeds and leftovers, hoping to start growing plants. Jason learns from the Richardsons that 5 blocks are being affected and they chat for a while using the boards. Unfortunately the Richardsons have no food left, but Jason has no way to help them. On day 14, Ruth keeps making drawings about the storm. They show weird beings under the rain and faces on the drops. Suddenly she notices a strange shadow down the street but gets distracted by the raindrops moving on the window, even following the tip of her pencil. When she looks at the street again, the shadow is gone. As days pass, the family keeps themselves busy with activities like dancing, exercising, watching movies, racing around the house, playing cards, and reading. Anne's garden is growing well and Jason decides to burn all the debt mail. For holiday decorations, they use some random objects to create an improvised tree. On day 30, Ruth looks out the window and says the rainwalker is back because she always visits when it rains. Her brother Graham doesn't believe her but when he looks out he also sees a shadow on the street. Scared, he claims it must be just an animal. During dinner, the kids complain because they're tired of eating the same thing every day. Ruth says that she saw a friendly being outside and believes she was trying to communicate, but her parents blame it on her imagination. When Ruth gets upset Jason accidentally snaps, so Anne tries to cheer the family up with cookies. Sadly they don't taste good because they don't have sugar. After the kids go to bed, the parents decide to smoke before watching the same movie again. However, Anne is tired of it so they decide to lie down by the garden door and look at the stars instead. To their surprise, they notice a wolf running in the garden. The next morning the family exchanges Christmas gifts. it's just stuff they found around the house, but it allows them to keep the holiday cheer. When Ruth looks out the window, she sees Mrs. Richardson collapsing. Jason immediately takes the kids away while and watches Mr. Richardson run to his wife's side to discover she's dead. That afternoon, Jason gives Cassidy the last of his medicine. In the middle of the night, Ruth wakes up and goes to the living room to get her toys, but she doesn't notice something running by the window. Suddenly she hears a noise and opens the curtains to see a blood-stained Susan desperately asking for help with a knife in her hand. Ruth screams in fear and the whole family is awakened. Susan begins to pound on the door and windows, still trying to get in. She keeps repeating that everyone is dead and tells the family don't let them see you. She also says that they are here and no help is coming. Suddenly something in the shadows drags the screaming Susan away and the family notices various beings walking down the street. A bright flash of light then fills the area, and when it finally stops, the creatures and Susan are gone. After closing the curtains, Jason looks at Ruth's drawings and the girl swears the creatures she saw seemed nice. Jason tells her these creatures aren't friendly and from now on everyone must stay away from the windows. That night they all sleep together. Sometime later Jason looks outside and is devastated to notice that Mr. Richardson has also died. One house has put up a sign saying they're out of medicine and the one-night stand duo is constantly fighting. Meanwhile the kids are exercising. Graham only runs, but Ruth hangs from the ceiling to do aerial silk. Suddenly the chimney cap falls down, so Ruth volunteers to climb up and see if there's a way out. The family firmly holds the silk as Ruth makes her way up and the walls keep cracking around her. At the top, the pipes don't allow Ruth to go through, but she can at least stick her hand out, which means the chimney isn't sealed. After Ruth safely returns, the family hears Cassidy cry and they realize he's in pain because his medicine ran out. And takes the kids to watch a movie and makes the TV really loud so they won't hear Jason shoot Cassidy in the garage to put him out of his misery. Afterward and wants to cremate him in the chimney, but Jason decides to keep the body in the freezer in case things get very bad and they need meat. First he chops it all, then he freezes the actual flesh. All the organs are put in a bag and Jason almost throws it in the trash, but when he sees the wolf in the garden he decides to throw the bag out the chimney. The wolf immediately approaches it, but before it can eat, it starts to rain so it runs away. As weeks continue to pass, the family closes all the curtains whenever it starts raining and they move away from the windows. One day Ruth realizes she forgot her plant on the windowsill and rushes to grab it, causing the creature to pound on the glass. Everyone freezes in fear while they hear the monster roar and thankfully it washes away. After 3 months, the light flickering gets worse and the family doesn't have much food left. Ruth begins crying because she's hungry and Ann yells at her as she stops her from getting to the fridge. Jason tells his wife to let her see, so Ann moves and Ruth opens the fridge, only to discover it's empty. And then opens the cupboards, which are empty too. Ruth slams the fridge closed and leaves in a huff. All this stress finally takes its toll on Ann, who suddenly collapses. Graham runs to scream in his room while Ruth cries on her bed. Jason promises they'll survive but Ann thinks they'll watch their kids die. At that moment Graham returns with his pet fish, which he has gutted for consumption. Ruth also joins them and they hug each other for comfort. A noise outside makes Jason look and he discovers that the wolf has finally eaten the dog's organs, which gives him an idea. He builds a trap using some random objects like a skateboard and puts a piece of dog meat on it before sending it outside through the chimney. A fox comes by and grabs the meat, but the trap reacts after it's gone. Jason does some modifications to the trap and the next time it does manage to catch the fox. However, when they try to pull it in, the weight breaks the silk and the fox runs away. Next he uses a car piece to make a small cage and this time the bait is vegetables. A squirrel quickly falls in it and its light weight allows the family to pull it through the chimney. Now they have squirrel meat to eat. Afterward Jason pulls off the boards from the living room floor to access the soil, so they start an indoor garden. Months continue to pass and the family survives thanks to Jason hunting a variety of small animals like birds and rabbits. One night, power finally goes out in the whole neighborhood, so their evenings are spent in candlelight. Eventually 5 years pass. The kids are now teenagers and all their neighbors are dead. Graham has become an expert piano player, the garden takes over most of the living room, a purifier cleans the rainwater, and Jason has improved the traps so they are automatic. Plants are overgrown all over the neighborhood and many wild animals roam the streets. One day, Ann notices that the house is falling apart faster. She theorizes that the barrier keeping them inside is also keeping the house together, so it may sink soon. Jason calls the family to the garage and shows them that he's fixed his car. Graham says it's a waste of time, so Jason immediately scolds him, explaining they need projects to stay sane and tools to be ready to go out when the rain finally stops. After an irritated Graham walks away and points out that the kids' attitude is getting worse because they didn't have a proper childhood. She tells Jason that he needs to be a father and not just a fighter. She also admits she misses her husband. Later Jason tells Ruth that she needs to stop hanging drawings on the attic window because she'll expose the family to the monsters. An argument ensues, but they all shut up when they see a monster at the door. While the family runs to hide, water begins coming inside through the door gap and moves the knob, opening the door for the first time in years. The monster enters the house and begins looking for them, dropping a creepy spit that immediately contaminates the water supply. Ann worries about the plants and wants to disconnect the sprinkler, but as soon as she moves the creature hears her and she has to hide again. Although it gets pretty close it doesn't see her and it keeps moving. Its limbs keep piercing the floor where Ruth is hiding. Luckily they don't reach her. Soon the spit is killing the garden and some drops fall on Ruth's face too. At that moment a noise is heard outside and more creatures appear at the window. The monster in the house immediately leaves to follow them. Seeing the door open, Graham runs as fast as possible but Jason stops him because the monsters are still nearby and the door closes. Then Ruth touches the drops that fell on her face and realizes it's not spit, it's just seawater. Jason notices that it isn't raining anymore and tries to open the door, but it's sealed again. Later Ruth reads a book about sea myths and concludes these monsters aren't aliens, they come from the ocean and this is their world. Jason corrects her, saying this place is her home. Afterward the parents confirm that all the plants are dead and the water is contaminated. Jason thinks they can start over but Em wants him to confront reality, so an argument ensues. At the same time the trap catches a ferret and brings it inside. When Ruth picks it up, the ferret bites her hand and runs away. Her parents hear her scream in pain and rush to her side, worried about a possible infection. Furious, Jason grabs the ferret and kills it. In the evening, Ruth is burning with fever and can't leave the bed. They give her the last clean water but she needs medicine. A desperate Jason gets in his car and repeatedly slams it into the garage door, but it still won't open. Eventually the car crashes and Jason hits his head, so he gets dizzy. The family hears the noise and rushes to help him out. Jason can barely walk and collapses on the floor, only to notice some cracks. This snaps him out of it and he grabs a tool to test how deep the crack is. Then he runs around the house to test the other cracks, noticing they're getting deeper. He concludes the house has been shifting and this could provide a way out. In the bathroom, he breaks the floor tiles until he finds a pipe leading to the sewer system. This should take them to the Richardsons' house, which should have medicine since Mr. Richardson was a dentist. Jason doesn't fit in the pipe so and volunteers to go. With a flashlight and a camera for the family to guide her, and crosses the sewers until she finds a wall. Thankfully it's loose enough for her to push the bricks and go through. At that moment the family loses the camera signal and Jason goes crazy as he tries to make the pipe bigger. Graham runs to the window and calls his dad when he sees that Anne is safe in the neighbor's house. Looking around, Anne finds lots of overgrown plants and Mrs. Richardson's rotting body. There are stains on the wall that make it seem like the house was flooded for years. As it starts to rain, Anne finds the medicine and gets ready to leave, only to discover that the monsters have returned. Soon the creatures are entering the house, so Anne carefully sneaks around to make it to the basement, which is already flooding. Suddenly she's startled by a monstrous face but it's actually Mr. Richardson's body. Her scream gets the creature's attention, so she has to hurry up. She swims in the sewer water until she finds the pipe, but unfortunately a monster finds her anyway, and immediately fires the gun at it. However the bullets do no damage and the creature disarms her. The family begins pulling the silk so and finally gets to escape through the pipe, and the monster is climbing after her. Jason quickly breaks the wall and lets the debris block the pipe just in time. Meanwhile Anne gives the medicine to Ruth and she starts feeling better. Jason wants the family to hide in the attic while he prepares to distract the monsters, guessing they'll come soon since they know they're in there now. However Graham says he's tired of hiding because this isn't living, it's surviving. Anne agrees, so they decide to fight the monsters as a family. They work together to prepare a big trap that hopefully will also help them escape. Suddenly a glowing round cloud appears in the sky and water starts flooding the house from every possible spot, like the chimney, the sinks, the toilet, and the bathroom pipe. Jason is pushed back by the chimney burst while Anne pushes Ruth out of the way when a wave comes down the stairs, dragging Graham. All this water allows the monster to get inside and move more quickly because it can now swim. Anne waits until the creature jumps out to attack and throws a ball at it, setting it on fire. It dives in again to get rid of the flames and its tentacles bring it down. Jason tries to shoot a harpoon at it, but he misses and the tentacles shake him around before throwing him into the water. Anne swims fast to rescue her husband and they reunite with the kids on the stairs. The water is rising too fast so they need to go to the attic, but Graham will first retrieve the harpoon. While the water slips through the house cracks, Graham dives in and retrieves the harpoon from the kitchen. He can hear the monster approaching, so he hides while holding his breath. At that moment the family makes a hole in the ceiling and pulls him out before the monster could reach him. The tentacles break through as well and Jason hits them with a hammer until they can all run to the attic. The water soon floods this room too, so the family holds their breath and holds each other in place. When the monster finally finds them, they pull a rope connected to the harpoon before firing it and this time it gets stuck on the creature. The other end of the rope is linked to the car, which is activated by the shot. The vehicle begins to pull the monster away and all the pressure is making the water widen the cracks to absorb it, so the flood leaves the attic and drags the family down as well. They immediately try the front door but it still won't open. The creature is stuck on the stair railing, so Jason grabs a knife and threatens to kill it if it doesn't open the door. Ruth stops him, saying they'll never leave if the creature dies. Jason cuts the rope instead and drops the knife, so the monster opens the door. After 5 years, the family finally runs out of the house,
finds themselves surrounded by the creatures. When they're about to attack, the nice one stops them and they run away together. Afterward, the house finally sinks into the ground, leaving nothing but a huge crater. Then the sun finally comes out for good and the family climbs on a truck to watch the monsters swim back to the ocean. The neighbor's boat is still in good condition, so the family leaves as well. To their surprise, a survivor contacts them on the radio.